Well, as we go to air tonight, news is coming through of a second suspected terror attack in the space of just a few hours. This is Palo Alto, the heart of Silicon Valley, California. Facebook started one block that way, Twitter one block that way. So we're here on the outskirts of Newcastle in New South Wales, where we've had some information that you can still buy synthetic cannabinoids over the counter at this pretty dodgy looking sex shop.
We can say with about a 90-degree certainty that what you've purchased contains UR144.
So I just bought drugs?
Yeah. Well done.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President Francois Hollande have held a private meeting with Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras in Brussels. 5 days in 1988 that would rock Australian prison history. Written on the walls inside Boggo Road Jail is the history of the prisoners that languished inside them. But it was the history written 25 years ago on the rooftop above that would change the Australian prison system forever. Live from the SBS studios across the nation. Happy Friday, people. Yes, this is the Friday feed where we take a look back at some of our favourite stories from the week. My name's andydwpark.
This area of the world produces the most cannabis out of any other region.
Well, most of them were called hippies, dirtbags.
The driver shot the passenger in the head and killed him, and then put a gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger.
We don't want to see all these small farms disappear because we know this is the best way to grow this medicine.
Now that we're in 2014, when we hear about the war on drugs, I mean, where's that at?
As far as marijuana is concerned, I think it's a losing battle.
I don't think the smell of death is like anything. Once you've smelt it, you know it. It gets into everything. It gets into your pores, it gets into your hair, it's up your nose. I say it's an entity unto its own.
And remember, we're pretty lucky because this isn't too bad.
I feel a bit sick.
I thought you might. You've got to get green.
I don't think anything smells like death. It's death.
But I mean, ethically, you walk a really fine line. How is this stuff legal?
I think we're grey line, yeah, definitely.
Well, the woman at the centre of a race row in the US insists she is black, despite her white parents declaring otherwise. Rachel Dolezal was speaking for the first time since being forced to quit her position with America's leading anti-racism organisation. Cross-dressing is so often misunderstood that it's probably best you set aside everything you thought you knew about men wearing women's clothes. So camouflaged, so reticent, that I'm surprised Sydney businessman Terry, not his real name, has brought me to this place where he secretly spends 2 hours every day. So would you say you're obsessed with women's clothes?
You'd probably assume that I'd suggest, yes.
As reports and rumours swirl about Peter Mayhew reprising the hairsuit for a role in the new Star Wars Episode 7, I sat down to punch it with Chewie and asked him how he first came to meet George Lucas. Sophisticated testing labs, such as this government lab which processes seizures from the Australian Federal Police and other law enforcement agencies, essentially test presumptively for prosecution, meaning that the police are only really looking for a chargeable offence, not new and emerging chemicals that might cause harm. What have you got today in the way of inventory?
Some powders, oils, some tubes. You've got to test them and find out what they are.
Just another day at the office. Piles and piles of drugs.
My physical appearance is much more important than even my own happiness.
So you prefer to look like one of these women and be unhappy?
I don't want to admit that, but yeah.
That's the world this Wednesday. Tune into our next World News Bulletin on SBS Radio tomorrow at 6 a.m. I'm andydwpark. Good night.